Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I'm Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, tonight I've got a very interesting one for you. This is a story all about a lot of whys from the leftist controlled side of the discussion. Let's just put it that way. Now, you guys know on this channel, we're looking at the leftist gun controllers. We're constantly analyzing what they're doing, the why behind their actions, so we can see the end result and the means. We can kind of discern the direction that they're going through their whys, right? But what's really fascinating is when I was doing my research today for this video that you're watching right now, I ran across an article and it was based off some research from Northeastern. Now, Northeastern is in Boston, Massachusetts. Basically, the study is all about the fact that when you own a gun, then the risk of harm or violence or whatever you would call it goes dramatically up. That's their whole point. They're trying to counter the fact that so many more guns were bought in the past year and a half. Now, in so doing, they undermine most of their main narratives that they've had out there for years, and we're going to go into that. But when I was diving a little bit deeper, I want to show you something that I found could be a coincidence, could be a why here. You guys tell me in the comments field below if you find this at least a little bit weird, because my gut is going off. So here's the first article, okay? And then we're going to get into it. It's always linked in the description box. Both of these will be. The first one is from northeastern.edu. U.S. gun sales have been surging, study finds. Okay, so I thought it was very interesting that they're bringing up gun sales, something that we've covered for the past 9 months. It's not new information, it's not new data, but this study is all about the risk assessment assigned to owning a gun, basically, okay? Then you look at the next one, and this is from The Guardian. Now, The Guardian, this is the article. It says gun purchases accelerated in the U.S. from 2020 to 2021. Study reveals. I thought that was interesting, kind of parallel, right? More than 5 million adults became first-time gun owners between January 2020 and April 2021 compared to 2.4 million in 2019. Interestingly enough, talking about the same data that we've been talking about. That's 2 articles. Now, what's even further intriguing is I went a little deeper and I said, what are the odds that something out of the United Kingdom and Boston, Massachusetts both published on the same article on the same day? And I thought that was very odd because they both pulled up at the same time. Well, I'm going to throw up on the screen when they were published, and you guys tell me if this is kind of get your gut feeling going off. Here's the first one, 3 hours ago. Here's the second one, 3 hours ago. What are the odds that the exact same study is referenced in 2 different articles from both left-leaning organizations, one on a different continent in a different time zone in the UK, one in Boston, Massachusetts? By the way, the only correlating connection is they're both leftist organizations. And then you also tie in the fact that Biden's Build Back Better plan just got nixed down the road. Is it possible that this is the beginning of a focus of the Democrats in 2022 is gun control? Oh boy, let's dive in. I'm going to show you where they're going. And I just wanted to share that coincidence with you guys. You guys can let me know what you think down below, but I thought it was a little weird. So let's dive into this article. An estimated 7.5 million U.S. adults became new gun owners over a recent 28-month span. We've documented it notoriously here. Sharply increasing the prospects for home accidents or people taking their own lives, according to research by Matt Miller, a professor of health sciences and epidemiology at Northeastern. That's what I was talking about. That's the whole reference for both articles. The study was conducted between January 2019 and May of 2021, a time frame that straddles the COVID-19 pandemic. It found that 5.4 million of the new gun owners had been living in homes without guns. So they're addressing the fact that all these new guns are coming out. Okay? Massive explosion in gun rights are happening in this country. We've covered it religiously on this channel. Miller says those newly introduced weapons expose the gun owner as well as more than 11 million people, including 5 million children, to the dangers associated with living in homes with guns. It's also a responsibility thing, but we can get past that. Miller's research in 2020 showed that handgun owners are almost 4 times more likely to die by suicide than those who don't have guns. Interestingly enough, suicide is a self-inflicted choice. Doesn't really matter, but the whole point here is this entire research is aimed at the risk increase of owning a gun, not the actual statistics tied to a gun. It's not about what happened, it's about what could happen. And that's important because that's what they're basing this entire thing off of. Most of the people who buy guns do so because they think they're having a gun is going to make them safer, Miller says. The reality is it makes everyone in their home on average much, much less safe. Overall, 3% of U.S. adults became new gun owners during the span of the survey. Well, that's interesting. So you've got 3% increase in ownership in the entire United States. 3% of the population, that's massive. And now they're coming out with this study, also referenced in a different continents study, paper. And this is the part where they start to undermine. Now, this is important. They undermine everything here, but check this out. The pandemic surge comes on the heels of long trending growth in gun ownership that dates back to 2005. 2005. I thought everyone who owned a gun was bad and looked like one demographic and was terrible. But now you're telling me this trend has been occurring for the last 16 years? That's interesting. It's a conflict of narratives. Half the gun owners during the pandemic were women, and almost half of the new owners were people of color. We covered that. That's true. This did not represent a large shift from pre-pandemic demographics of new gun owners in 2019, though it did amount to a shift of patterns observed in 2015. So right there, it doesn't make sense. Their whole narrative was just destroyed by their own article. What changed between 2019 and 2021 was the volume of people who bought guns, not the proportion of purchasers who were new to gun owners or the proportion who were female or non-white. So basically what he's saying there is nothing's changed, exact same trend, you just had more quantity so it looks bigger. If the ratio is exactly the same, which by the way it was not, if the ratio is exactly the same, that kind of throws dirt in the narrative that everyone is bad that has a gun because they look like someone. You see what I'm saying? Their narratives are conflicting. They're having to shift. New gun owners in 2019 resembled new gun owners in 2020, suggesting that demographic shifts in new gun ownership preceded the COVID-19 pandemic, the study states. By 2019, new gun owners were already considerably less likely to be white and male and were younger than other gun owners. They were also less likely to be white and male compared to new gun owners in 2015. Has someone told the Democrats? Because one of their main talking points is that's not true. So now they're referencing a study that's conflicting the Democratic narrative. You seeing what's going on here? You starting to see the picture that's starting to evolve. And this last one blows my mind. This is one we'll wrap up. In addition to the pandemic, other events that may have affected the number of people who bought guns include the murder by a Minneapolis police officer of George Floyd in May 2020 and the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. So they offer some potential reasons. Then they say this. Miller's study didn't assess the influences that were driving increased gun sales. So you didn't address the influences. You didn't address any of the sociological things that were going on. Nothing. You just said, it's happening and that's what it is. And therefore, everyone's more dangerous. And that's what I've got for you guys tonight. I know that video was a little bit longer, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below because they are shifting a narrative here. It's very telling that two different newspaper outlets on a different continent published something at the exact same time, referencing the exact same study. My gut's going off. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one. This is Braden, signing out.